back. Oh, there we go. Backed by popular demand or pure
demand.
Or yes, I was going to say convenience sake, but yes, her demand as well. Mikayla Erskine, everybody, my sister-in-law. And
in the flesh.
In the flesh, yeah, we're here in person together. She's visiting from North Carolina. So here's the deal. Mikayla has led a super interesting life, and we have more to talk about. As far as things to discuss, we're going to hit some of her trips to Scotland.
Some of the more recent stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
Something that her and I do together. I'm a big Marvel fan, and she is into stories in general. But
mythologies.
Yes. And so she has seen most Marvel things multiple times, but hasn't done well, you and I, when you lived with us, we went through at least up to a certain amount of new stuff.
I think Infinity War. I'm well versed up through Infinity War, but anything kind of more recently than that, I get all of my news from Jake. I don't subscribe to any of the platforms where one can watch these things, so that's why I rely on Jake for my new Marvel stories. I get them straight from this good source.
Yes, exactly. And I'm probably one of the few, well, I don't know about one of the few because there's new audiences, but I'm one of the OG fans because Iron Man, the first one, came out in 2008 when I was 12.
Which I still haven't seen.
You've never seen the first Iron Man?
No. We should do that one here.
Oh my God.
We should do that one here.
Anyways, that's wild to me. But yeah, so you and I, we were watching Phase 4 when you started living with us. So hold on, because this is important, everybody. We're doing a Marvel episode to start.
We're cruising into Phase 5? Or are we...
We're in Phase 5. So you saw Black Widow.
I did.
You saw Shang-Chi.
I did.
You saw Eternals.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Did you see Spider-Man No Way Home with all the Spider-Mans?
Yes, I did.
You saw Doctor Strange with Wanda?
Yeah.
Did you see Thor Love and Thunder
with
Jane? Okay.
No.
Okay, so that's where you are. So you're caught up through May 6th of 2022. Very nice. Okay.
Not too much work.
Here's how this is going to go down. We're going to recap my thoughts on those films and TV shows that have happened since, and we're going to talk about what is coming up next. We just watched some trailers before this, and then we'll delve more into her story. But it's been a long time coming since we did a true little Marvel deep dive, because I haven't done one yet, and that's been a big part of my life. Yes, you have something to say?
Well, this is our tradition as well. This is like one of the bedrocks of our friendship at this point.
Yo, you can do anything. Feel free to interrupt.
This is like something I kind of look forward to when I come to stay with you guys, is our Marvel catch up.
I can't help myself.
And neither can I. I mean, it's the depth of Stan Lee's universe just continues to grow. And it continually surprises me. It is one of the few working mythologies.
Yeah. I'd say it's America's mythology.
It is, and for sure. And I am a big time consumer of Bronze Age mythologies. Currently reading Homer. Ovid will be next. Virgil after that. I'm currently reading Neil Gaiman's Norse mythology just for fun while I'm here.
My book.
And so it's really cool to get a chance to learn about mythology, if we want to see it through that lens, that is still being worked on and developed every day. It's not thousands of years set already.
For sure.
Literature, it is still being written. So that's why I am fascinated by Marvel primarily.
Nice. So real quick, I'm gonna give my thoughts on Phase 4, just the movies. Black Widow is solid. It's okay. I have some gripes with it. I don't think it's a great spy movie, but I think it is.
As far as spy movies go,
it's not really a good spy movie. But it introduces some cool characters, and Florence Pugh as Yelena is awesome, and she was great in Hawkeye. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings is just like your classic Marvel origin story formula, and it does okay. I like Shang-Chi, the character. I like the choreography, and it follows the Marvel formula to a T, and just kind of gives you exactly what you were expecting and what you wanted.
It's kind of refreshing to have some like Eastern, like
Yeah. I guess it's the first
influenced mythologies.
Yeah. I agree with that. Yeah, I mean the Tao Lo world they go to is cool for sure. So Eternals, everybody hates this movie. I high key love this movie. I'm not even gonna lie. Everyone thinks it's boring and introduced too many characters, and I totally get it. I think if I'm looking, it had a 47% on Rotten Tomatoes. Look, I get it. It's a lot of characters, and it's kind of a slow burn, and it's a long movie. But guys, the ancient alien sort of take they go for, and the introduction of the Celestials and the score. The score is amazing. Great music.
Introduction of the Celestials is honestly something I think about just in my daily life. Like, I'll just be going about my life, like grocery store or at work, like rock climbing, whatever. And I will think about the fact that the entire universe, it only exists because of the Celestials. And it really just kind of freaks me out. Like, I just can't help but project myself into a world of like, what if we are living in a Marvel world and you can just go on a cruise and see this freaking Celestial's hand?
That's as big as a planet.
Yeah, just like, and know that your planet almost exploded.
Yes. Also, yeah, well, that's it. Eternals is one of my, I like it more than the other movies than Black Widow and Shang-Chi. Next is Spider-Man No Way Home. This movie for the first 2/3 is okay. And then the last third is just like a masterpiece. They were able to integrate the other Spider-Man into the story in a way that gave them a purpose and showed their character, and was able to like redeem Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, who kind of got shafted in his own movies, and was able to make Tobey awesome again despite him being in his 40s. Yeah, the ultimate respect, the ultimate love letter. It is better than Deadpool Wolverine. Yeah, for sure. And the score is the best of those Spider-Man movies. And Tom Holland really goes hard. I think it's his best performance as Spider-Man. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness is the movie I've probably seen the most, and I have a real love-hate relationship with this movie. I love Sam Raimi, the director. I love Evil Dead 1 and 2, Army of Darkness.
Are they doing an Evil Dead thing?
I mean, they're kind of doing Evil Dead in Marvel with Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness. It's like there's a Book of the Damned, and that's like,
and the whole conflict is Wanda trying to bring her life back.
Yeah, through the multiverse concept, but there's a lot of things that are really dumb in that movie. At first, when I saw it, I was like, this is crazy, because the cameos are crazy and a lot of stuff happens, and it was also like newer into the multiverse plot, which we'll talk about, but upon revisiting the movie, first of all, I think it's a character assassination of Wanda.
Hated that.
I know.
I'm so disappointed.
I know you don't like that. I think that they didn't really have a plan. Like this, the plot is kind of weird. Like, they don't do a good job of making the character, like every character is dumb. Like Doctor Strange should be one of the smartest characters, and he just like does a bunch of dumb things. The magic when Wanda assaults Kamartaj, and like all the sorcerers are just using bow and arrows, but they're magic bow and arrows, and they have like magic cannons. Like it's just like magic primitive weapons that like in the previous movies, especially like in Infinity War and Endgame, they were so creative with the magic fights. So if you go back and you watch Doctor Strange versus Thanos, you're like, this in your head, you're thinking, this is an amazing fight, creative CG, creative spells. And then you watch Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and there's some cool use of spells in the beginning, but then they just kind of get worse. And that was another thing about the magic in the movie. The fights are sort of prolonged when he does solve the fight or finish it. He just could have done that in the first place.
Yeah.
And so in my opinion, they draw the fights out just to have some spectacle when eventually he does something at the end where you're thinking, okay, why didn't you just do that to begin with?
Yeah.
I don't think it's very smart. And yeah, the character assassination of Wanda at the end is just terrible, and they make her dumb. Why wouldn't I mean, this is pretty in the Marvel weeds, so if you don't really care about this, I'm sorry, but this is what's happening. But why would she not? First of all, why was Vision not in that movie? Because that was like the whole plot of WandaVision was her like bringing him back.
Yeah.
And then
she just completely forgets about Vision.
She just completely forgets about him the whole time. And
she wouldn't have the children if it weren't for Vision.
Right.
Like, you kind of need that. Like, why didn't she find a universe where Vision was alive?
Yeah. Why didn't she find a universe where she was dead and the children were alive? You know what I mean? I feel like they really just wanted certain things to happen, and they didn't put too much thought into
practicality.
And it's there. Like, you could have done it. Like, if that movie had Vision in it, I would have enjoyed it a lot more. But and then they kill Wanda at the end. I mean, they probably don't, but anyways, that's my thoughts there. Thor: Love and Thunder, just way too silly. Not
serious enough. Was that a Waititi?
Yeah, it's Taika Waititi. Way too silly. Thor: Love and Thunder makes Endgame worse. Retroactively. Because at the end of Endgame, Thor makes Valkyrie Queen of Asgard, which when I was watching the movie the first time, I didn't really think too much about. But the only other movie she was in before that was Ragnarok, and she's literally a slave trader in that movie. She kidnaps people and then sells them into a gladiator ring. Yeah. At the very end, she does help him with taking back Asgard, but that's a good thing, obviously. But then we don't see her until Endgame, and then at the end of that movie, he's like, "You should be king." And it's just kind of like, but why? Yeah. You know, like that. And so she's king or queen in that movie, and it just of Asgard, which is now on Earth.
Okay, because Asgard had to move
because it blew up. Yeah. And so
Thanos?
No, Surtur, the fire demon.
Oh.
And so, do you think we're being too loud? Or do you think she's just having a bad time? Okay. And so, Surtur blows up Asgard. Ragnarok happens. And then their ship gets cut in half in Infinity War by Thanos, and he kills one half of it. And so also on Asgard,
they're just getting rocked.
In New Asgard, in Thor: Love and Thunder, they have an ice cream shop called Infinity Cones, which is so stupid. That's like having like Holocaust Bakery or something. Like they're like in universe, that makes no sense. Yeah. That is like the worst thing that has ever happened in the entire universe, and it's like, come get your Infinity Cones.
Remember when we all got decimated?
Right. Remember when half the universe was murked? So I hate that.
That's fair. How much of those decisions do you think were Taika Waititi?
Oh, I think most of them.
That makes me so sad.
I think that
his other works are so good.
Well, I think what happened is like they gave him complete creative freedom, and they were just like, "Do you, man?" And he was like, "Okay, well, I'm just gonna make like the silliest shit that I can imagine." Yeah. And so there's also some plot points that I don't think make sense, because they go to this place where all the gods hang out. It's called Omnipotent City, and all the gods from every pantheon just like kick it there.
What?
Yeah.
This is in Love and Thunder?
Yeah.
So the Greek gods are there?
Yeah, Zeus is played by Russell Crowe.
What?
Yeah. And he's like the leader of Omnipotent City.
Do we get the whole Greek pantheon?
Nah, I mean, Athena's there briefly. Dionysus is there.
Who plays Athena?
Oh, just some chick. She's like bare. Like it's just like I think she goes by Minerva. Or she's credited as Minerva. But yeah, it's terrible.
Dang.
And
bummer.
So that the whole premise is Thor's there, and that would have been like huge in the fight against Thanos. Like it also makes no sense if you're like paying attention to what has happened previously. Why wouldn't you recruit the whole pantheon? There are Celestials there at Omnipotent City, just like chilling.
Yeah, what the fuck are they up to? Unless they just really didn't give a fuck about Earth.
Right.
That seems to be a question that ties a lot of the movies together, especially at the end of Eternals. It's like, well, why bother saving this planet?
Yeah, well, and they kind of address that in that movie for sure.
And I guess you would just have to assume that the other gods and Celestials just don't find Earth worth saving. But Thanos was the entire universe. Yeah,
so you would think half of them would have got snapped away as well.
Yeah.
I don't really know what they were thinking with that. And yeah, it's just dumb. And some of the CG, and that's another thing. Some of the CG in these movies looks bad, like worse than it used to. Like they're just like cranking them out, and they just like have a timeline, and they're clearly just trying to meet it.
Oh man.
Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. Yeah, I mean, not good. The villain Namor is one of my favorites in this run in the comics. Oopsies, by Jonathan Hickman. He's one of the best characters, and the actor who plays him is fine, but they just don't make Namor cool. Like they don't give him anything cool to do. And so it's just kind of like, it's really long. They should have probably just recast T'Challa instead of passing it on to Shuri, because that character I just don't think was meant to hold down her own franchise or movie.
But like in that world though, that's how it would have happened.
For sure, but I think they still just should have recast T'Challa and not had him die in universe, because it just creates a lot of problems where like you kill one of your classic older Marvel characters, and like Shuri does become the Black Panther in the comics, but T'Challa's still alive and doing stuff, and then he becomes king again. And so it just like in the movies previously, she was like plucky and fun, and then she's like really sad and serious, which like fair enough, but it's just, I don't know, too long. And like I was telling you earlier, the character Ironheart sucks. She kills these law enforcement agents as they're fleeing the police in America, and it's like kind of never addressed. It's like, I thought you were a superhero. Like you literally just killed those police officers. So I just don't really know what they were going for there.
So do you think these movies, they just like wanted to get them out and on the timeline so that they can focus their actual like energy on some of these other things that we are expecting to come out?
No, I think they just were like, oh, we're going to have Disney Plus and we're just going to like throw out a bunch of content and we're just going to like saturate the market. And they just did too much. And I don't think they had the writing team to tackle this many projects all at the same time. And so it just, I think they all kind of fell flat, because all that was just the films. There were the shows as well. Where'd they go? Oh my Lord. Yeah. I mean, you had WandaVision, legit. Falcon the Winter Soldier. Okay. Loki, legit. What If? It's fine. Hawkeye, solid. Moon Knight, started strong, didn't stick the landing. Miss Marvel, super cute. They put 2 seasons in 1 season, and so it wasn't as good as it could have been, but very cute. She-Hulk, Attorney at Law, probably one of the worst shows ever made. It is so bad.
That's what I've heard.
When I first saw it, I was kind of like, just kind of in a state of shock the whole time I was watching it. And then the last episode, I have to give them a little bit of credit. They basically, so she breaks the 4th wall they basically have her punch out of the show into the Disney Plus menu, and this happens in the show. She crawls into the behind the scenes of the show, and then she talks to the writers of the show. They send her to Kevin and the president of Marvel Studios, Kevin Feige. His name is Kevin. They take her to Kevin. Kevin in the show is a robot that makes formulaic product like the Marvel movies and just pushes them out on a timeline. And she bargains with this AI that makes all the Marvel movies, quote unquote, and makes him change the finale of her show. And then he does, and the conflict that was happening at the end of the show just is over. And then the show ends with Hulk, because the Hulk character's in it, bringing home his son from the Sakaar planet where Ragnarok took place. And then it's over.
Hulk has a son?
Yes. And they just do this.
Did I miss that?
No. It's literally introduced in like the final minutes of the show. And then it ends, and it's not getting renewed for a second season. Nobody liked it. They blew $200 million on it. And some of it still looks bad. $200 million on a TV show. And
that could have been given to climate change.
There you have it. But yeah, it's terrible. The show was definitely ballsy, quote unquote. But I tried to rewatch it because I basically watched all this stuff a second time, even the shows. I couldn't even get through the first episode. I did watch the last two though, because at least stuff happens. And Daredevil's in the second to last one, which poor guy, they put him in that. But yeah, and then so now we're in phase 5, which has been. It started with the new Ant-Man movie. And so what sucks about that is that the actor who played Kang in that movie, he's the villain, and who he was He Who Remains in Loki. The guy in that last episode, who is like kind of explaining how the multiverse works, and he was the one at the end of time. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. That actor got into like a lawsuit, or no, not a lawsuit. He was charged with like domestic abuse. That's what it was. And so they fired him. I don't know what all has happened in that, but
and how many actors do they like invest in only to find out that they're sketchy people?
I mean, it's tough. It's tough. There we go, phase 5. But
it's like, don't be shitty, guys, and you'll keep your job.
Don't be shitty. But yeah, so that movie is okay. It's pretty fun. I mean, Paul Rudd's hard to miss, but
which one is it that Paul Rudd is in?
Ant-Man and the Wasp. He's Ant-Man.
Oh, I thought you said it was a show.
Oh no! This is the movie Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. It's okay. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, thumbs up. It was good. Yeah, it was very solid.
Yeah.
The Marvels, absolutely terrible. Sequel to Captain Marvel.
I remember you telling me about that one. That was a part of our last catch-up, actually.
Yes.
We dove into that.
It's actually hilarious. Like, it's very entertaining to watch, but it's as like a chapter in the Marvel saga. Terrible.
Yeah.
Deadpool, Wolverine. All right, we're going to get my thoughts out. So, it is good. Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman give their best performance. I'm going to spoil some stuff for you. Is that okay?
I love spoilers.
It's true. She does. It's a spoiler warning. Daphne King, who was in the movie Logan with Hugh Jackman as basically his daughter. Mm-hmm. She's in the movie. Elektra, played by Jennifer Garner from the 2003 Daredevil movie and the 2005 Elektra movie, is in it.
Wow.
Wesley Snipes as Blade from the 3 Blade movies is in it. And then Channing Tatum as the X-Men Gambit is also.
I've seen his clips.
Yes. They're hilarious.
Y'all don't even know what's about to go down right now?
Yes. His Cajun accent is so funny. So the inclusion of all of them was awesome, but the plot of the movie is dumb. Without getting too much into it, basically Deadpool stopped being Deadpool because at the end of Deadpool 2, he time travels, and he basically time travels into the Avengers universe, asks to join the team. Happy Hogan says no.
Who's Happy Hogan?
He's the Jon Favreau. He's like the funny bodyguard / driver of Tony Stark.
Okay.
Happy says no.
Happy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
He says no. And then Deadpool is so bent out of shape by him saying no. He quits being Deadpool for 6 years, gets a job like selling cars, and his girlfriend leaves him. And you're just like, what? Why is that? Why would that happen?
Like, why would Deadpool
Why would
care?
he care? Yeah. Like, I just don't buy that at all. And then the Wolverine that they use is just some random Wolverine. It's just like his backstory. It's not the same Wolverine from the other movies. There's a way they could have done it, because basically they didn't want to ruin the movie Logan, which is the end of that character.
Okay.
So they made it like another universe. But there's a way they could have done it, because in X-Men Days of Future Past, he time travels back into his younger self, and then what he changes, and then his consciousness leaves his younger self to the future. And so you could have done that other Wolverine's consciousness, that Wolverine. They could have pulled him from that universe. And those timelines are broken, so they could have fixed those timelines in that movie, and that should have been the plot, and it wasn't. Anyways, that's my feedback there. But and then you've got Captain America: Brave New World and Thunderbolts coming out next, and so that's
Thunderbolts.
Thunderbolts is the one that I just showed you the photo of with Yelena and Bucky.
Yes.
So I'm really nervous about Captain America: Brave New World, because there hasn't been an Avengers movie since 2019, and like we don't know
Infinity War,
Endgame, and we don't know what has been happening in or out of the universe. Like with those, like everyone's been doing their own thing. There's no like what is happening in the world. There's no world building, and so there's a lot resting on their shoulders, because apparently in that movie they're finally dealing with the fact that there's a hand busting out of the earth from the Celestial and Eternals.
Oh, they're addressing it.
Yes, they're finally addressing it, which is like,
what are they gonna do? What do they think they're gonna do about it?
I think whatever she transformed it into is the metal adamantium, which is what Wolverine's claws are made out of. That's like the main theory going on right now. So she turned it into the strongest metal outside of vibranium.
And how did she do that again?
She used the power of that birthing Celestial to increase her own power, which was the ability to turn things into other things. And so she used Celestial's power to transform it into, we don't know what.
That's trippy.
But died.
We'll have to rewatch the ending.
Right, right. So it's dealing with that. And then there's not many movies between this movie and the next Avengers movie. And so it just kind of has to put a lot on its shoulders as far as what has been happening. Why haven't there been the Avengers? Yeah. Like, what have they all been doing? Yeah. And so I'm just really nervous. And then
Thunderbolts is going to be a show.
Thunderbolts is going to be a movie. So it'll be the next Tina movie.
Definitely there for Florence Pugh.
For sure. Hawkeye was good and it continued her story. Loki season 2 was amazing. What If season 2 was solid. Echo, terrible.
What do these colors mean?
There's the color of the season that there's color coded.
Oh, okay.
Echo was so bad.
Echo.
It doesn't matter. Agatha all along. I'm kind of stoked for.
Agatha all along. All my witchy girls.
Yes, witch girls unite.
Yeah, that's gonna be awesome. Although,
thanks, love.
I feel like Agatha is going to be not a sister in this one. I feel like they're setting her up to just betray everybody.
I mean, it could be. Like, it's kind of hard to make a show about someone with no morals. You know? Like, so it'll be interesting to see, like, how they attach us to the characters. Because, like, the point is they're all evil witches. Like, are they finding sisterhood, or are they just kind of being immoral the whole time? Yeah. Is it, like, a quest for power? Like, why am I going to be rooting for them?
Yeah.
But it's Halloween time, and I'm committed to watching all this shit. And so...
Yeah.
And so I'm excited.
Dang, man, how am I going to watch this? I really just want to watch Agatha all along. That's all I care about. I'll have to subscribe to Disney Plus for like
6 weeks or however long it takes.
Yeah. Do I have to wait every week for the episode?
Well, the first step, yeah. Yeah, so but probably like 2 months.
Wait, then I can just watch them all at once.
Yeah, that's true. So you could literally subscribe for a month Yeah.
Yeah.
And then be done. Yeah, that would work.
Yeah.
That would work.
Sweet.
I think it ends like the first week of November.
Okay. Good strategy.
Yeah. Daredevil Born Again is basically a return of the Netflix show, but on Disney Plus. Same cast, now in the Marvel Universe. They're basically saying it was all canon.
Okay.
It all happened. And John Bernthal's back as Punisher, which is Tay and I's man crush. So.
Okay, so are they doing a whole new like season and plot and like story and everything?
Yeah, with keeping continuity, which is good.
Okay.
I mean, they should build upon that. Wilson Fisk, the same actors playing Kingpin.
Okay.
It's all the same actors, cool. Everything. Ironheart, no one cares about. And then lastly, Phase 6. So they just announced, so you got Fantastic Four First Steps, which is set in an alternate universe. Good cast. Pedro Pascal is Reed Richards, which I'm like a little nervous about because he's a good actor, but I don't think he really is a Reed Richards.
That's the leader of the X-Men?
Of the Fantastic Four.
Fantastic Four.
Yeah. Okay. They've got a Blade movie, which has been in production hell for forever, so who knows what's happening with that. And then May 1st, 2026, you'll have the first Avengers movie in 7 years.
Whoa.
Which is a big gap. And they just
Avengers,
Doomsday.
Secret Wars? Oh.
Yeah, Doomsday, then Secret Wars.
Whoa.
And so they just announced Robert Downey Jr. as playing Victor Von Doom.
Okay, I did see that where he like did the whole.
Yeah. Same mask, new task is what they're
Same mask, new task.
Or wait, new mask, same task. That's what the tag was for that announcement. Nice. Robert Downey Jr. is an incredible actor. What I'm worried about is Dr. Doom is not evil Iron Man. So I'm worried that they're going to make him like a variant of Tony Stark and just have him be evil Iron Man, which would not be good because Victor Von Doom is like an amazing character and RDJ would crush Victor Von Doom. But for the love of God, please just don't make him evil Tony from another universe because that's not what we want.
Okay, so I've never heard of Victor Von Doom.
Dr. Doom.
Dr. Doom, yeah. What's Dr. Doom's story?
Okay, so you'll actually love this. So he is, I might get some of this wrong, but he is the son of a gypsy woman who, I know, you already bought in, who practiced magic. And he's also a super genius. So his skill set, his power set blends magic and science. And so he's like part Doctor Strange, part Iron Man.
Okay.
But he's also the king of the sovereign nation of Latvia, which is a fictional country.
Is Latvia not a real country?
Latveria is the real country.
Latveria is the real country?
Yeah. Latvia is a fake one.
Isn't that where Winston plays basketball in New Girl?
Hold on, I might have it mixed up. Now I'm feeling dumb. Latvia. Oh no, Latvia is the real country. It's Latveria.
Okay, that's what I thought. Only because of Winston playing semi-professional.
I can't believe I just mixed that up. Yep. It's Latveria. It's the fictional one. We'll keep that in there.
Okay.
Keep it real. Keep it real. I screwed that up, guys. I'm not even gonna lie. But anyways, so yeah, you got like some images of him here.
Okay, so he's king.
Mm-hmm. So he's king of this country.
And he's like a magical
scientist.
A magical scientist.
And he's typically a Fantastic Four villain, but often comes into...
What's his thing? Why is he a villain? Like, what's his thing?
Well, he's insecure about his intelligence when comparing it to Reed Richards. And so he's petty.
Guys. Insecurity. Man.
Insecurity. And then, there's various plots of why he's a villain. I mean, he also thinks himself to be like a god, so he's basically like God King, and he would see himself as proper ruler.
So he's doing
classic sort of take over the world guy. Big totalitarian guy. Okay. And then Secret Wars, he'll definitely still be the villain in that because I have the Secret Wars comic over there, where in that comic he does indeed become God Emperor Doom. of Battle World.
God Emperor Doom.
Yeah, of Battle World, where
Wow.
the multiverse collapses and there's basically a planet that is composed of different universes and like it's a mishmash. And so, anyways, that's kind of the direction they're going in.
Okay, interesting.
So stoked that there's going to be new Avengers movies, but like, who's like
who are the Avengers?
Who are the Avengers? Like, what is happening?
We don't even know.
It's been 7 years.
Like we don't even know who the Avengers are.
No,
because they're all gone. I mean, is Thor just like a staple forever though?
Right. I mean, obviously, the new Captain America. I mean, he has to be. Doctor Strange, I'd assume. Spider-Man, maybe Hawkeye. You know, like
Hawkeye's gonna be like, guys, just let me be deaf.
Yeah, just let me be deaf. That's right, he is deaf.
Just let me be done.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's sort of your your Marvel update for everyone. I am cautiously optimistic for some of what's happening.
Cautiously optimistic.
But I'm really, really scared that the thing I love is just not as good as it used to be. Well, it hasn't been, so that's a fact. But
so, what were the best Marvel years? Being able to look at it here, like from now.
I mean, 2008 to 2019. They really hit their stride. 2016 to 2019 in Phase 3. I mean, that's when they were just pumping out bangers.
Yeah.
But I mean, Golden Era was 2008 to 2019, 10, 11 years. Okay. And then the 2016, the last 3, they were just like printing money. Yeah. That was Civil War through Endgame was just like pretty much everything was solid. Yeah. So we'll see.
Yeah, hey guys, in the comments, share your favorite.
There you go.
A challenge, yeah.
They're not commenting because this isn't on YouTube yet.
But it's on.
I guess when they watch this,
you can clip this and you can so that they hear it.
That's true.
Then, yeah, share your favorite.
So thinking about if we're just totally switching gears, you and I were talking about all of the adventures that you've done, and we got to the end of the episode and we realized that we totally forgot that you had been to Europe a couple of times, like for some pretty
immersive experiences.
Yeah, that were like fairly extended.
Yeah. So when we say Europe, it was actually like the UK, which I guess is Europe, but I don't want to mislead anyone. The continent. Not continental Europe, but the
British Isles.
Yeah, the British Isles. Let's call it that. That's good because I've been on this journey of with a friend of mine, really good friend of mine named Mary. We have been slowly checking off different parts of the British Isles in an effort to retrace, effectively, like the Vikings' footsteps.
Oh, I didn't realize that was the intention.
Yeah, that was the original intention. When we started planning the trip, we thought we would be going to Denmark and Norway and like Scotland, Denmark, and Norway. But now we've done England and we've done Scotland and we've done Orkney. And next spring we'll be doing Ireland. So we're effectively retracing the Vikings' travels south. And so, yeah, I guess first we went to England and we spent about a week and a half, almost 2 weeks in England. We spent like 5 days in York, and then we went up to Scotland, Edinburgh, over to Glasgow, over to Skye, and then back around to Edinburgh. And we ended up spending a cumulative of like 2 weeks out of the 5 that we traveled the first time.
I can't believe you were there for 5 weeks.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I would love to go back for another 5. Like 2 weeks is what we've been managing since then. But ideally, really, I mean, when you're on a plane for that long, you might as well be gone for a minute. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, the first trip was 5 weeks, and that was amazing. And then the second trip was only 2 weeks, and we flew directly to Inverness, which is one of the northernmost cities in Scotland, and then slowly made our way up the coast and ended up in Orkney for a week, which Mary and I have both agreed when we say, oh, we've been to Orkney. People are like, where? Like,
I don't know what that is.
Where's Orkney? So Orkney is a set of islands right above mainland Scotland. And it was kind of the hub for the Viking world. Was that Stone Age?
I have no idea.
5,000 years ago, that was the hub for all of the people coming from Iceland, Greenland, Norway, and traveling down, eventually pillaging into Ireland. So we ended up spending about a week driving around Orkney. We saw Skara Brae, which is older than Jesus, older than the pyramids.
What's Skara Brae?
Skara Brae, I don't even, this is like, you might have to help me not just vomit this story.
Yeah, I got you.
So I guess Skara Brae, I don't know if I'll be able to like show people like on a map on my phone.
No, that's okay. You don't have to do that. Just, but like, what's the concept? Like, you said it's older than
so
these things.
Skara Brae is a Neolithic village that sat on the coast of like the northern side of one of the larger islands of Orkney, and people lived there for what they think must have been like a solid couple of generations. People made their life there. It was a village, just like any other village would have been in the Neolithic era, but slowly with wind and erosion and weather patterns changing, they got pushed out and further inland to mainland Orkney, and the village slowly became covered up by sand until sometime it was in like the 1840s. Sometime around there, this farmer who had a farm in this area, a massive enough storm came through, pulled enough of the sand dunes away that he found Skara Brae and notified like the officials who needed to be told, and it became an excavation site, and it looks like a little hobbit village. It looks like,
that's wild.
It's just, I mean, it's 5,000 years old, so it's been embedded in the sand dunes for most of that time, and it's just a bunch of grassy knolls with tiny little homes in there. And when they excavated it, there was still like their beds made out of stone.
Oh, so they carved their beds into
They
rock?
didn't carve it, they like stacked it.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So just like with the Stone Age, there was a lot of rock stacking going on, and using a lot of rocks for building and tools and stuff. So Skara Brae, there are rooms, so they know this is where they slept, this is where they ate, this is where they cooked, and there are passageways in between each of the rooms. And it was maybe like 50 to 150 people lived in this village at a time, so it was very close knit. And it was so enchanting and something that was really cool. So you can go there. It's got a visitor center. It's protected by the government now, so it's really well kept. You have to pay to get in, of course. They've got a gift shop, all that stuff. But you walk the path to Skara Brae, and it's got little placards that mark you in time. So as you're walking, it's like the sinking of the Titanic. And then, like, I guess it would go like World War II, the sinking of the Titanic, so on and so forth, back to the building of the pyramids. Jesus was born, and you're just walking past all these time markers, and Skara Brae is at the end as a way to signify this is how old it is.
Yeah.
So you're like walking backward in time the closer you get to Skara Brae. Mm-hmm. And then you get there and you can walk around and look in and stuff. And you can't go in because it's so delicate. But you can see all of it. And we were there with like a bunch of tourists. It was off and on raining the whole time because in that part of the world it's, usually raining, or if it's not raining, it will soon. And we get there and we take a look. But there's, sidewalk with a railing, and it's the coast right there in this big bay with these rolling waves. And Mary and I just completely forget about Scar Bray, and we go onto the beach instead that had washed all the sand up and covered Scar Bray for so long. And we kind of went our separate ways, and I was looking for rocks and shells, and Mary was looking for rocks and shells, and it was just probably one of my favorite days, that whole trip.
I can imagine. I mean, anytime you're sort of forced to immerse yourself in that sort of history, it has to just make you take a step back and, oh my gosh, so much has happened. I think that's cool that they made you they have that walk to really sort of set the scene. Okay, this is way back when. That's pretty cool. Yeah. And I remember when you told me that, I was like, older than the pyramids. Yeah. That's crazy. Yeah. Because the pyramids are old.
Yeah. It was, old.
How old did you say?
5,000 years.
Yeah, okay. Nice. Excuse me. So something I wanted to ask you about. So before your first trip, you said you were gone for 5 weeks. When did you start planning, and how did you organize all of that? I mean, because I think that's a good question if people are looking to travel outside of school, that sort of thing. Yeah. How do you go about?
That is a really great question. And honestly, I gotta say, hats off. Most of our organization has been thanks to Mary. She totally has a future as a travel agent. But we started planning our trip pretty promptly after the autumn equinox of 2021. Because
so it's like late September.
Yep. So late September of 2021, our friendship really started to root, and we found out that we were both planning the same trip to originally Norway and that region. And so kind of right off the bat, we started meeting once a week, either on the phone or in person, to start just looking at a map and saying, okay, here's where we want to go. This is what we want to see. This is what a budget's going to have to look like. And we just started setting
How did you go about even figuring out a budget?
So initially, like when we're planning things now, we always start with a Word doc. And we break that Word doc into sections. So budget, itinerary, packing list, and our intention for going is always at the very top. So we can always have an eye on what our intention is. And our budget normally starts with flight costs.
Sure.
We'll take a look at what flights look like, and we'll jot that down. And then next we'll take a look at what public transportation looks like, and then we'll jot that down. And then we'll take a look at what car rentals are, and we'll jot that down. And then food, lodging, all that other stuff, we will just take kind of an overestimated guess as to what that is going to cost. And then we add it all up and we throw that in there. And then it just becomes a working budget as the trip takes place. We just kind of be like, okay, cool. So maybe not this many days with a car because it's expensive, and we'll do this because this kind of public transportation is more affordable, or this lodging is going to make a little more sense than this. So the budget is always changing until maybe like a month or two out. Well, once we buy our flights, then the budget really falls into place because that's a major expense that's out. And we don't have to factor that in anymore. But I think initially we budgeted for ourselves about $3,000 for 5 weeks, between flight, transportation, lodging, food, extracurricular activities, and any other like fun spending.
Yeah, I mean that's a pretty lean budget.
Is it?
I mean, $3,000 for 5 weeks with all that traveling. And including your lodging. Like I feel like that's like pretty lean.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, think about like rent for a month.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
And then you throw in like all the different travel and all that sort of thing. I mean, that's like
Yeah.
That's pretty legit, I feel like.
Yeah. I guess that's true. And I will say Scotland made it easy. Scotland has a really well-connected group of hostels that are cheap, and that made it easy. Public transportation in England and Scotland is really easy and affordable. Ireland is posing a little bit more of a mystery, just because Ireland is a little more expensive, just in general, comparatively, and a little more spread out. It seems to be a little less welcoming to tourism. Tourism on a budget seems Ireland seems a little less accommodating to tourism on a budget than Scotland was. But yeah, so I guess really what we do is just have a working document that we can both see at the same time, because it's
Nice.
a Word
Just
document.
like a Google Drive?
Yeah, we just use a Google Drive document. And so Mary lives in Reno, so most of the time when we're planning things, it's over FaceTime. And so it's really important for us to have that working document that we can both see at the same time and be editing all the time. So like a week will go by, and I'll hop on the document and I'll look at it and I'll clean it up and I'll make it make sense and kind of like organize some things. And then Mary will come in and she'll do the same thing. And then we talk to each other and we're like, okay, well, this number actually, I think, we can't afford this much time with a car, so let's cut that down a little bit. So then that leaves us more room actually to spend some more money on certain things like tours that we want to go on or things like that. So I guess the way Mary and I plan, our planning style isn't a very set in stone one. It's very open to fluctuation, spontaneity, and the way things can change week by week when you're planning something. Because even though there's so much to see, we're very cautious not to lock ourselves into something, because you never know what's going to happen when you get there, who you're going to meet, what kind of places you're going to find out about when you get there that you might want to change a plan for a day. So
how does that work with lodging?
So what we have found that works is we'll identify a spot that intrigues us enough that we'll consider it our home base for like 2 to 4 nights. And the way we go about identifying that is we will create a list of our places of interest that we really want to see. And then we'll figure out what place is close to all of that we can either travel public transport or if we'll need to rent a car. And then we will home base ourselves for a couple of nights in that one area so that we can have that set rate and lock in our housing, like our lodging. One of the first things we'll do after buying a flight is locking in the housing. So we'll know, like for instance, for Ireland right now, we're probably going to spend a solid couple of days based out of Cork, County Cork, because County Cork has a really high concentration of standing stones all around it, and it's got a lot of really quaint villages. So we'll probably like rent a car to explore as much as we can in the Cork area and just find a hostel. When we look for a hostel, we look for something that we can cook, somewhere we can cook, somewhere we can sleep comfortably, so that we can buy groceries so as not to eat out every day, because that saves a lot of money. If you can be somewhere where you can buy groceries in order to cook, you can make sure you're getting a good meal, you can make sure you're packing a lunch, you can make sure you're sleeping somewhere consistent every night. That's important for good rest, especially when you're trying to jam pack your days, like 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. kind of adventure days. So that's kind of what's been working for us, is home base, kind of in the nexus of a lot of things we want to see, and then the next home base by another nexus of things that we want to see. So that's why we did York, England for almost a week. We did Orkney for almost a week. We did Isle of Skye for 3 days. And we did Edinburgh for almost 2 weeks across both trips. And then there are travel days in between that and like other things and stuff. But yeah, I think if someone is trying to plan a trip for their first time with a friend or by yourself, first thing you're going to want to do is figure out what you want to see, what's important to you, why are you going there, and then figure out, okay, cool, so this is why I want to go, this is what I want to see, where can I stay that gives me pretty ready access to all of these things that I want to see, and what's going to be the most affordable for me. Maybe you might get lucky and you can camp if you're going at the right time of year for that. Some places have really great hostels that are really affordable. Other places you can Airbnb or, find some kind of work trade. But knowing why you want to go and then finding a spot to home base from has been really helpful for Mary and I. And I know some people might prefer to be on the go a little bit more, and we've done that too, and I've done that too. My first backpacking trip was very much on the go, most days, and I have found I have a better, more immersive experience when I prioritize having a home base, even if it is only 3 days. Ideally, for me, I would be able to home base somewhere for like 2 weeks at a time, but I can't take that much time off.
Oh, for sure.
At the moment, but hopefully someday soon I'll be able to travel for, an undeterminate amount of time again.
So you talked about setting intention, and you kind of talked about retracing the steps of the Vikings and doing that sort of thing. What was your intention for your first trip, and then the second one, and then I didn't even know you were going back? Well, I mean, I knew you wanted to go back, but I didn't know that there was set dates. So first, let's start with intention for the first one.
Okay.
What were you hoping to accomplish or experience?
So our first one was definitely way more willy-nilly, and the one where we learned how important intention is, because initially right off the bat we were like, we just want to go overseas, we want to travel internationally, we want to go see some old Viking shit, and we want to see as much of that as possible. And so our first trip, I'm glad we had 5 weeks because we were a lot less dialed in on how to go about making the most of our time. So we had a lot of days where we were like, and then we had a lot of days where we would be like, boom, 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 doing a bunch of stuff. So the intention for the first one was a lot looser, just old Viking shit. That's what we wanted to see.
Nice. There you go. Simple.
And we actually ended up sampling a lot more of the current culture than we anticipated. And we ended up kind of sucked into the Edinburgh party scene for a hot minute, which is why we stayed for like 2 weeks there.
Right.
So, and I was fresh off a breakup. So I was kind of like in my girl kind of phase. So then coming off of our 5-week trip and moving into the second trip that we did, which we only had 2 weeks for.
It was 2 weeks, okay. Yeah. Kind of remember if it was 2 or 3.
Yeah, so we only did 2 weeks the second time. Started in northern Scotland, ended up in Orkney, back down to Edinburgh, and we were much more adamant about our intention that time. Like, to be totally frank, we made a whole list of things that we had to keep in mind, and on that list was boys ain't shit. To remind ourselves not to get sucked in to like party culture.
These bitches just get distracted and can't help but hop on the boys. They got to keep a list to not do it.
Yep. Sometimes you just need that point blank reminder to keep your wits about you. But yeah, so our intention the second time, since we knew from our previous experience what we enjoyed the most of, which was that old Viking shit, we decided to prioritize that and just maintain that intention of we're there to see as much history as we can possibly see. So we spent most of our research time just looking for the oldest historic sites that we could find, whether they were protected and cared for by the government or just places you had to find out because of doing extensive research, which Mary is truly gifted at. She has a knack for finding, those hidden, tucked away places by doing research. So I've been very blessed to have her as my travel companion, because I'm not quite as gifted at that. So we ended up doing a lot of really immersive, humbling sightseeing. Where
What made it humbling?
Just the vastness of time in between now and the lives of the people we were getting to glimpse while we were traveling. So we were walking into Neolithic stone, like,
structures,
yes,
sites.
yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Neolithic stone sites that were places of speculated worship or burial. We crawled into burial chambers that were in complete and total darkness and sat there where the dead were buried. And that is what we came for. And that is what our intention was to have those experiences, to try to reach back as far as we could through time and connect ourselves to these ancient people. And I can't really put my finger on what it is that drives us to travel all the way across the country and the ocean just to go see these things. But that's why I say it's humbling, because you have to put so much effort in to go see these sites that these people worked so hard to create and are still standing 5,000 years later. And it's just, there's not many things like standing in that place and pressing your cheek against this rock that shouldn't even be there if it weren't for the effort of humanity thousands of years ago. It means so much. It makes life so much more vibrant.
What was the big takeaway after having done that? Like, did you feel different after that second trip when it was a bit more intentional of experiencing those sort of things? If you could say one takeaway or a couple, what would it be?
Good question. I definitely felt different. I felt more settled in myself as a person, for having maintained that intention and achieved it. One of the main takeaways, I think, was that it is most definitely doable to achieve dreams of teenage daydreams, where for as long as I can remember, I've wanted to see things like that. And we just did it and we made it possible. So another one of my takeaways, I think, for both of us was we could do this for a long time. Like, we want more than 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah.
2 weeks isn't enough. And we want more of this. And trying to think of like a really good and wise and deep, like, takeaway.
You don't have to force it if you don't have one.
No, I know. But I think like the experience was just so immersive that it's almost hard to put it into words what it meant, other than it made me feel more settled as a person.
I mean, I get that. And so the story I'm about to share is way less experiential, but when I was working at the hotel, this was like right after college, in we'll say 2019, 2020, doesn't really matter. But this lady who lived at the hotel gave me a book, and it was a book on the British Isles. And I was at this point in my life where I was trying to figure out who I was, who I wanted to be, that sort of thing. Post-college, kind of have to put to rest college Jake and figure out who I was going forward. And she gave me this British Isles book, and I had done the Ancestry 23andMe or whatever, and found out I was like 50% Irish, a little bit from Wales, some from UK proper, a little bit of French, and then like 1% Sardinian, which is the island off of Italy. And so that was cool. And so I felt like I had a kind of more grasp, genetically speaking, of where I came from. And then she gave me this British Isles book, and it talked about like history of each of the locations and then other spots. And it was basically like a coffee table book. And I read through the entire thing just while I was working the front desk at this hotel over the course of a few weeks. And I would say that centered experience, it was very similar to how I felt after. It's like when you're trying to figure out like who you are, it kind of helps to put yourself in place of history and place yourself in history. Here's what came before. Here's kind of where I come from. Here's my sort of genealogy and lineage. And my dad has gone really far and tracked.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. At least for the ancestry sort of thing, tracked the family tree on one side to the 1600s, one side to the 1500s.
Wow.
And
he's put in a lot of effort.
He's put in a lot of effort. So Fowlers come from the Anglo-Saxon tribes, and they were those who would chase the fowl after they had been, while we were hunting, and they would wring the necks of the birds.
Whoa.
They were the Fowlers, and apparently they were quick and broad-chested.
That's you.
So it's just on the money. So my aunt just told me that literally at our family reunion about the she's a good storyteller, so who knows how accurate that is. But me, my dad, my grandpa on that side all had like similar builds. So that was fun to hear. But yeah, so I read that book and just felt a little bit more like I knew where I came from and had established some sort of tradition, I guess, in that. And that was something I had never really done before because in college, I was just like, oh, I'm a white person. Like, that's it,
Just your average
just
white mutt.
Just your average white cracker. White mutt. Yeah, I always said I was a Euro mutt. A Euro mutt, yeah.
Can confirm now.
Can confirm that is true, but it was cool to kind of dive in. And my dad was also reading this, like, Irish History for Dummies book. And
nice.
And so
I might need to borrow that before I go to Ireland.
Yeah, and so I've since sort of gotten a little bit even more into that and some of the history, and so but it does help. And so obviously what I experienced wasn't experiential, but I can sort of speak to how knowing where you came from and getting more in touch with that can be a useful thing to have happen to you.
Yes, very useful. And actually on that line of things, the first trip we did, I actually got to go see the Erskine Bridge that crosses the River Clyde. Right outside of Glasgow. Yeah, so my surname is Erskine. That was given to me, obviously, by my father's side. And that name traces back pretty far. The Erskines actually had a hand in some of Mary Queen of Scots' life.
Oh.
Yeah. So I try not to get too involved in that because I know there's it's a beast. It's a whole beast I'm not quite ready to tackle yet. So I try to just observe. But I found out that there's the Erskine Bridge and then Erskine Beach right outside of this cute little town in Glasgow. So I told Mary, I was like, I want to go here. And it was really, really cool. So we went to the beach. It's just a river beach. So it was kind of weird, not beachy sand, but muddy sand. And I traced my family's initials in the sand where the water was kind of lapping up. So kind of in the water and the sand all at once, traced our initials. And there's a really great view of the bridge right there. And I took a picture with the sign and I was like, sweet, cool. I did it.
Did that.
Came to Scotland, saw my name on a sign, and now we can move on. So that was really cool. And it's definitely not the most often clan name you'll see in, clan books and stuff, but it's a fairly prominent Knowing where you came from, being able to place yourself in history, even whatever in some slight way, helps make life seem a little less overwhelming.
Oh, 100%.
In some ways.
Yeah, I mean, when you can place yourself chronologically, you're kind of like, oh, okay, this is what has happened. I feel like that's in general what I've experienced learning more about history. There's some history that resonated with me through grade school, but as I've gone back and sort of gotten into things that draw my interest and that, and this and that, I've found it has been super illuminating and just sort of establishing, oh, this led to this, which led to this, and now I can see how you kind of see how the sins of the past kind of catch up, and the good things too.
Yeah.
But it really helps frame your context, so you're able to contextualize your experience a little bit more. Like, oh, okay, this happened in the past, which led to this, and now I understand why my environment around me is the way it is, and it also just makes you hungry for more. And so
it does.
I think history was something I enjoyed growing up, but now even more so, I understand its utility, and it's not like something I feel I have to do, but something when it comes up, I'm rather interested in pursuing.
Yeah.
I understand how this will be a benefit, and I'm just genuinely curious because you can continually recontextualize. Oh, that's where this value system comes from. Oh, that's the culture that did this first. Oh, this is how this goes. That's just weird.
Yeah. It's a kind of a reassuring thing that we have in our tool belt as humans, being able to see our own history, and know where we are because of it.
Yeah.
And then to be able to actually go and physically touch 5,000-year-old history and be in the middle of it. Like, we went and sat in the middle of the Ring of Brodgar at midnight, and we sat there with our lights off in the middle of the ring in all the heather, and we actually lost our car keys for a minute, and it was kind of scary because we thought maybe we had time traveled because we couldn't find the car keys, but it ended up being fine. But just almost makes you cry. Definitely were some tears shed in many places across our travels in the British Isles. And I'm very much looking forward to Ireland. We're going to have it so much more dialed. And we're not going to be able to do even half of what we want to be able to do. But even half of a half is enough for now.
Yeah. Nice. Well, I definitely look forward to hearing more about it. But I think this is a good time to stop for tonight. We can always pick back up later. Hey, what's up, everybody? Sorry that last bit just got cut short a little bit. Had a kiddo that was crying pretty good and had to step in and put her to sleep. But part of the reason I wanted to add this addendum is because this whole podcast thing has been super strange, and I really enjoyed doing it. But what I mean by strange is, I've mentioned in other episodes that one of the reasons that I'm doing this is because I started to think about doing something in college and didn't. And I've had people throughout my life tell me I should have a talk show, comedy show, whatever it is. And I started getting to the point where I was regretting not doing something, and the regret of not doing it was starting to overpower my fear of not wanting to start it, or of wanting to start it. And so I started, and here we are. And it's just been challenging, and obviously I'm the one who's choosing to do this, and so this isn't like asking for sympathy. It's almost like a little bit of a diary at the end of an episode, just to kind of bookend it, because that one had to get cut short. And something that I've been thinking about a lot is just the quality of the podcast. And there's not too many people listening right now, and so for those of you who are, I just can't thank you enough for the fact that you have been listening and helping me get this thing started. I really appreciate it. when I go back and listen to these episodes, it's challenging because I have a mic and a camera, and that's it. And there's the kid crying again. He's going to bed. But I have a mic and a camera, and that's it. I have a GoPro too, so I've got like a webcam, a mic, and a GoPro. And I don't have a studio. I don't have a place where I consistently do this. So every time I shoot an episode, it's at my kitchen table. I have an Airbnb. I can't go there all the time because it's booked. I've rented out a place before, but I just don't have the money to be spending time on, or spending money on rent for a studio or any sort of thing like that. And so the point of me saying is all this is when I listen to this and I hear the audio bugs, or I hear the background noise, or I hear the filler words, the ums, the uhs, the likes. Oh, the likes kill me. The knows. They're all things I'm trying to work on, but I only do this thing 2 times a week. And I just want to say thank you. And I appreciate everyone for listening as I get better and as I figure out a more stable sort of production, because right now it's literally just laptop, camera, mic, wherever I can make it happen. And finding guests is also hard, even though I'm only doing one every other week. Finding guests is such a bitch. And it's not even that I don't have guests. There's actually a pretty solid backlog, but just lining up schedules and that sort of thing is really challenging. And it's not something that I foresaw, but I'm going to keep doing this. And I apologize that this episode is late. I said I was going to do one every other Sunday, and it just really, really bothers me when I don't do what I say I was going to do, because a defining part of my journey over the past few years has been treating what I say as something, treating my word as something worth following through on. And it was always easier in the past for me to be there for a friend because I didn't really know what I was doing. So I didn't really need to be there for myself. But now that, I'm kind of leveling up and in life and, been trying to be better now for a few years, it just really sucks when I say I'm going to do something and I don't do it. I feel like I'm breaking a promise to myself. And even though this isn't a huge show yet, and no one really cares if I release it on a Sunday versus a Monday, or this will probably come out Tuesday, the 10th, so 2 days late, but it just really bothers me so much. It just is so upsetting. And it's hard for me to let myself off the hook because I don't want to let myself off the hook. So it's this weird position where, and I was talking to my wife the other day or yesterday. She's like, why don't you just let yourself off the hook? I really do feel like I'm breaking a promise, even if it's just to a handful of viewers and just to myself. I've been trying to condition myself that you don't break promises to yourself. And so anyways, I wanted to end this episode because I had to cut the last one short, or cut it short when we were recording it last night. And, I really appreciate Mikayla for being another guest. She enjoys it for sure. And yeah, I appreciate everyone for listening thus far and for sticking with me. And I'm, sometimes I wonder if I think about, does everyone else notice the flaws? Well, of course they do, but I'm just really hard on myself for this show because it's my first time putting myself out in a sort of creative space, and I want it to be good. And I know that I'm sort of just limited right now with my skill set, and 2, this sort of lean production, and the fact that I don't have a place to really do this yet. And I can't sink the money in to get a place to do it yet. And so I'm really just going to have to fine tune this lean production and keep getting better and keep working on myself as a host, making sure I'm paying attention and asking good questions on all of that. But that's it. I'm going to cut this short. I don't want to waste too much time, but thank you everyone for listening and for being so supportive. And, wouldn't hurt if you could share the show to your friends and family. And, if you haven't seen any of the episodes or watched it or listened to any of the episodes yet, go back and listen to them. And, give the people I've been having on a follow and at least check them out. I haven't had anyone too polarizing on there, but, you're not going to agree with everyone that comes on here. For the most part, we're just here to have a good time and have some interesting conversation, and whatever happens, and we'll go from there. So thanks, everyone. Have a good night. Later.